We're seeing now Yerushalmi Simplified, Maseches Avodah Zarah, Daf Yud Tes. We're starting from the Mishnah, Hamoitzei Shivrei Kelim. A person who finds in the street broken pieces of a certain vessel that he's not sure if it was worshipped. Harei Elu Mutarim. He does not need to assume that something is wrong with these broken pieces. If he found a hand, a piece of a hand or a piece of a foot, then he cannot use that piece. Because sometimes these pieces are worshipped. So the Gemara is going to explain what is the difference between the first part and the second part, because it seems that both of them are broken pieces, and this is just a broken plate or a broken thing that had some kind of images on it, and this is also a broken hand. So what's the difference? So if you find pieces broken that has images, you can assume it comes from a certain table that's called dalfaki. Now these tables used to have images inscribed, and that's definitely not Avodah Zarah. It's just for beauty. If you found a hand, a piece of a foot, then you can assume it comes from a full idol that broke down, and that's why you cannot use that hand. What does it mean? So the Gemara is going to say all kinds of idols that they had in those days. What is this? It's a chicken and the eggs. Banis are like the daughters, that's like the eggs. Anshe Beis Shemesh also has Nirgol, Rigle de Yaakov, Rigle de Yosef. They made an image of the foot of Yaakov and the foot of Yosef. It's an imaginary thing, but that was their idol. Why? Because it says by Yaakov, it says that some kind of luck happened. Lavan said that when he was at Yaakov's house, Yaakov was by his house, he was very lucky. And then there's Vayevarach Hashem was Beis HaMitzvah Biglal Yosef. So they used a certain image to represent this kind of luck that happened by Yaakov's house and Yosef's house. V'an is also as Ashima, Imra. What's that? That's image of a lamb, keves. He says the word Asham there, so the Gemara dashes the word Ashima is ayil. It's an older, it's like an older lamb. It's called an ayil. Va'avim also as nivchan kalba. That's dog. As tirtak chamra, a donkey. As sarvaim soif med bein beish tavse pisyan. Certain kinds of birds. They had images of birds and ducks. So the Gemara is going through all these different kind of images that the ancient nations used to worship. Avodah Zarah shenishbara. What's the din with a idol that broke into pieces? It's not a problem. If it's broken, it's not a problem. What is exactly the case that we're talking about? That the argument of Yochanan and Rish Lakish. If it's such a case where he can put them back up, then for sure it's aser. He's not planning to repair it. For sure it's mutter. It's broken and he's going to throw it in garbage. We don't know. The guy didn't decide yet what he's planning to do, or maybe we don't know what he decided. Usually a person is going to repair it. That's the argument between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish on this specific case where we don't know what the person is planning to do. Omer B'Yudna Avi the Reb Masanya. Im Hoyim Lachem Im Koimon Kvishasidin Lahachzal Lekelim. If the guy did not move them, we see why isn't he moving them away? Because he's still planning to repair it. Now the Gemara is going to ask questions on Reish Lakish. Mosiv, no, the other way around. Reish Lakish to Rabbi Yochanan is asking a question. V'aksiv al kein le'yidrchu kahane dogon al miftan dogon. The priests of Dagon don't step on the doorpost of Dagon. So it seems there that they used to have this idol called Dagon, and it was in a certain room, and the priests did not want to step on the doorpost because they believed that this big idol fell apart, and that's not anymore active. However, the spirit started to rest on the doorpost. So we see that the idol is bottle. It becomes nullified because it says there in the pasuk that the idol fell down and it broke. So we see once it broke, it's mutter. So the Gemara answers, Amar Lei, Yochanan says, no, they still worshipped, even though it was broken. They just gave covet also for the doorpost because they believed that right now there's something happened with this idol and it started walking onto the doorpost. Yisrael also kama miftanis. My time if a karti al kola doilig ala miftan. All these people that jump over their doorpost. So there was a certain minig of Avodah Zarah in those days to believe that on the doorpost some magical things happen, and they didn't want to step on the doorpost, so they jumped it over because they don't want to don't want to step on that spirit and that God. So we see from this pasuk that the Yidden kol adoilik means everybody on his doorpost believed there's some kind of spirit there. Amoitz Avodah Zarah. Rav Omer Meshabra Ever V'hi B'Teila. Yishmiul Omer Ena B'Teila Lo'ilam. No. Even if you break it pieces, it doesn't become bottle. It doesn't help. Probably because the Gemara says that Yid cannot be mevatel Avodah Zarah. So according to Shmuel, even if you break it, if it broke by itself or a goy broke it, then it's bottle. But if you find it whole and you break it, then it cannot. The Avodah Zarah, the Isser, still remains on it. If it has no stand, then you can assume that it comes from a shvar. So this piece of the Gemara goes back to the Mishnah, right? The Mishnah says, you have to return to the Mishnah. You started off with the Mishnah. Mishnah says if you found a piece that's a hand or a foot, it's aser. So the Gemara explains, it's talking that the hand is actually standing on a pedestal. That's when it means it's not broken. That's the way it was made, the image of a hand, the image of a foot. But if you just found a hand without a stand, without a pedestal, so it's broken. It's a broken hand. So according to Reish Lakish, when you say the Mishnah that matzah tavnas yad, you don't interpret it that it's a broken hand from an original image, because that, according to Reish Lakish, is not a problem. That's what we had before. Reish Lakish holds if it's broken, it's not an issue. So we must say, according to him, what is the issue with this Mishnah? The Mishnah must talk about a different issue. We're talking here about a hand that's intact. It was on a pedestal, and that's how they manufactured it, and that's how I found it, and that's why it's aser. Hamoitze kelem v'aleim tzures chama. There's an image of a sun, tzures lavana, tzures darken, tzura of a dragon. Yalichan liyam melech. You must take them to Yam Melech. If you found it on a keli that's mechubed, like a kois that you drink in it, or different utensils that are not used to cook and to do dignitary stuff with it, dignified things, then it's mutter. If you found it on a chashiv keli, it's aser. Yois now go in a general. What is the way to what are you supposed to do with Avodah Zarah? You found some image, some idol. What are you supposed to do with it? You're supposed to grind it and throw it into the wind. Or you just put it in the ocean. No, the first option is not a good option. Because if you grind it, it turns into manure. Means people can end up deriving a benefit from this, because this Avodah Zarah is going to make the soil better, and so that's why the only option is just throw it in the ocean. The only time if you found a plate or a spoon that has inscribed the image of a sun or the moon, then it's aser. But other planets, Mars, Jupiter, is not a problem, because I guess that's just the image, not l'shem Avodah Zarah, just like an art piece. Lo yishanu ela darken. Now the same thing with dragon. Dragon was the image of Avodah Zarah. They worship this image, but other kinds of snakes is just a nice piece of art. Ezo darken, what considered the darken? How do you know that this image is this dragon? Kol she'tzitzen yotzim b'tzavaroi. If it has fringes coming out from his neck, this snake, this dragon, had from the neck coming out pieces of hair. If it's totally flat, there's nothing, no hair sticking out, then it's mutter. If it's a dragon that also looks like a crawling reptile, it's aser, because the main thing is a dragon. It's also combined with this. It's supposed to be like a special kind of dragon that also looks like a reptile. Rachish v'olav darken. If there is, however, a regular crawling object, let's say a mouse or a cockroach, whatever it is, and that on that there's attached a dragon, just takes, he allowed to take that image of that's crawling, just have to snip off the dragon, and then he can use the rest. Shmuel says, he's trying to explain when is it considered covered. It says in the Mishnah only if it's covered, then it's aser. So he's saying an example. If the kois is a basis ladarken, the kois is the stand for the dragon, aser. So the picture, I'm just imagining that's what it means. You had a cup, and on top of the cup there was attached a dragon on top. So it's mainly to glorify the dragon. That's the main object in this piece that you have. You just have also a cup. You can drink. I guess there's some opening there that you can drink from there. But the main thing in this whole creation is the dragon. However, the other way around, darken bosses lakois mutter. If you have a cup and in the bottom of the cup there is a dragon, that just means that the dragon is holding the cup. So then it shows that the main thing here is the kois, and the dragon is just mavuza. It's just supposed to hold up the cup. Then it's mutter. He said this kind of statement, that a dragon that's broken into pieces is not a problem. You can use the pieces wherever you want. However, a darken sholim, if you had a whole dragon, and then it broke, it's aser. So it doesn't make sense, this statement. What do you mean? What do you mean shivri darken? Obviously, if it's broken, it was once a whole darken, and then this whole came into pieces. So what's pshat that shivri darken? What does it mean? Reb Chizkiya b'shem Rav, Kaini. This is what it means. It means Ra is the mishtach on the doctrine Shalem v'nishbar asur. It means like this: if you know for sure that this dragon was worshipped, so we say even if it's broken, it's asur, because Rav holds his shitta Avodah Zarah shenishbar me'aleh is asur. That's what we had before already. This is the shitta of Rav. But if you found on the street a broken dragon, you don't even know if somebody bowed down, then we say, okay, you didn't find it. You don't know for sure if he worshipped it. And then again, there's another thing here, it's broken already. So then you can use it. So that's what Rav meant to say. Shivet darken, he meant to say, you found it when it was broken already. Not you saw somebody bowing down and then it broke. Okay, now the Gemara is going to go back to the Mishnah that discusses the difference between mevuzeh and mechubadim. We say if there's an image on this keli, on the vessel that you're using, if it's a mechubadig keli, it's aser. If it's mevuzeh, if it's mechubad, it's aser. If it's mevuzeh, it's mutter. So Gemara is asking a question. Ma'anan kayaman. What are we talking here? Im davar barish abadim. If it's 100% clear that this image is worshipped, afilu mevuzim aser. Doesn't matter. There is some kind of worship that's done for this particular image. So how can you say it's mutter? Im davar barish einam abadim, afilu mechubadim aser mutter. Even if it's mechubad, it should be mutter. You know for sure nobody worships this type of image, so it's just a piece of art here. You're not sure if this particular image is an image that people worship. So we say it depends. If you find it on a keli that's mechubet, let's say on a nice plate that you put in front of the guest, that you put on a banquet table, you put fruits there, you don't make it dirty, then we say, oh, probably this image is worshipped. And if you find it on a pot that's mevuzeh, we say probably this image is not worshipped. So cups to drink is bezoyan. People drink from it, they put their saliva on it, so it's not you can't consider that a davar mechubet. The Reb Baba havale kafkin, he had pots, have a timi deroimi tzayir v'gavi. They had a certain image of Rome. Like today they have the skyline of Manhattan. That was their chashivas. They had a certain image that represented the Roman Empire. So they put on that pot that image. You don't have to worry about it. Since the water is goes on top of that image. So let's say they had the image in the middle of the pot, but the water level of the pot was higher. It means that the image got covered with water. It's considered mevuzeh. So since it's mevuzeh, you don't have to worry about it. Vahein kituna. How about a kitoin? A kitoin is a jug that you fill up water. Mikevan she'atem eshakoy b'mayim davar shebezoyin. Even though it's outside the cup, the jug. But since you have to dip it into water, so it means again that when you dip it in, you're taking this nice image and putting it into the water. That's considered davar shel bezoyin, and you don't have to worry about any problems of Avodah Zarah. They started painting on walls, and the Bechon wasn't moiche. Yochanan said, you're allowed to make nice paintings on your wall. You see from this Gemara how all these images and paintings and art were originally associated with Avodah Zarah. Today it's very hard for us to imagine because we have paintings and arts everywhere. But initially, in the Torah, we see only in the Mishkan there was art. Beis Hashem, a person in his private house didn't have anything. So it's something that's you could look at as a pesel, a tamuna, or something. So this is the Gemara that said that we see, the Chacham said that if it's not specifically these things that it's aser, It says in the Mishnah, you can allow to make paintings on your wall, paintings of flowers or even of animals, as long as it's not the things that Chazal said it's also. It says there that Moshe Rabbeinu took the egel and he ground it into pieces. So you see, Rabbi Yossi is right that you are allowed to grind Avodah Zarah. We're not worried that it's going to turn into the zevel, into the manure. What did he do in the end? He put it on water, and he gave them, each one had to drink up a cup with water with this sawdust to check him if he worshipped the egel. Means it wasn't just grinding it and leaving it on the ground. That's also according to Rabbanon. You are helping the fruits or the vegetables grow. But if you just use it to make them drink the water, okay, that's something else. Amaloin, again, Rabbi Yossi said for them, it says there that the Asar Melech was trying to nullify the Avodah Zarah that his mother made. So first of all, he took her away. She had no rights in anything. And then there was a certain image that she made. So he took that image, it's called a mefletzes, and he ground it into pieces. So we see that once it's ground, it's mutter. It says in the pasuk, he burned it. It wasn't enough grinding it. He had to grind it and then burn it. Like this, nobody should have any hanoah from it. Moshe Rabbeinu made the snake out of copper, and then Chizkiyahu HaMelech grounded that. He ground it into small pieces. He smashed it. So we see Rabbi Yossi is right that's okay if you smash Avodah Zarah. You don't have to burn it or throw it into Yam HaMelech. So the Gemara answers back, Chacham say v'chi Avodah Zarah hi v'lemeish asoi. Can you say Chas Hashem Moshe Rabbeinu made Avodah Zarah? So it must be this whole thing was never Avodah Zarah. Emlam Choy Yisrael Toyen Achrav At Sheba Chizkiyahu v'Aviroi. So it wasn't really Avodah Zarah. It was never meant for Avodah Zarah. So the Yidden just had imaginations that this has some divine powers, and they were doing wrong things with it. So then Chizkiyahu smashed it. He didn't want they should use it anymore. They shouldn't look at it, but not that was any type of Avodah Zarah. This is the end of Daf Yud Tes.